Bang, 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 bang. Hi everyone, welcome back to Kravings Friends Adventures. I'm Karen Ahmed and I'm so excited today because I have my friend Barbara Anie in the house. And she is not just my friend, she's also my ex-co-worker and a fellow YouTuber. Now, Barb has an amazing channel. She has tons of great recipes and it's called Barb's Fave Foods. You can find her on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Welcome to Cravings Food Adventures, Barb!
Hi, Karen! I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you, and I'm also so excited because I know you have an incredible and really authentic recipe for us. And you know me, I love new recipes, authentic recipes, and this format just gives me such a great opportunity to get these recipes into cravings, things that I've never tried before. So tell us all about your recipe.
Okay, so I am my parents are from Ghana. I'm of Ghanaian descent, which is in West Africa. And the recipe I'm going to be showing you today is called Red Red. Red Red, what is that? Why is it called Red Red and what is that name all about? So it's called Red Red for two particular reasons. Nothing really mysterious or out of the ordinary. We essentially use two really notable ingredients to put this recipe together that are red. So the one ingredient is a palm oil. You can buy it at any ethnic food store. I bought this at a store called Nations, which is a multicultural store. Or if you have any African or Caribbean stores in your area, you can buy it there. And then the other reason why it's called Red Red, so the second red, is that you serve this bean stew with red plantain.
It's amazing. So you know what, I'm really excited, and thank you for mentioning where you get that because I've never seen it. I've seen regular palm oil, but I've never seen that type. So, and it's funny because just yesterday I was passing by Nations, but I didn't have the time to get in there. But I've been dying to go because I've heard so much about this store. You get great ethnic goods from all over the world. So
it's great. They definitely have anything of an Asian area. They have absolutely everything. But I will say that they give a lot of love to a lot of different cultures. Like typically if you go to an African store, you can buy palm oil in like the vats. So this is like a lot smaller.
Right.
But I mean, honestly, the one thing about palm oil is the downside is it's high in saturated fat. So any recipe that actually calls for palm oil, any traditional recipe, I always balance it out with a little bit of less saturated fat oil, like an olive oil or any other oil. So buying it in this size is okay.
Is palm oil and coconut oil the same thing?
No. So palm oil is actually, it specifically is from the fruit of a particular palm tree that is only grown in Africa, in Western Africa in particular. So that's exactly where you get it from, and that's what it's made from.
Oh, I see. Well, amazing. Let's get on with this recipe because I'm really dying to see how this comes together.
Okay, so I will say this recipe is actually dead simple. One of the things that I one of the reasons why I started my channel is because I love to cook and bake, but growing up, all of the traditional Ghanaian foods, my aunties, my mom, they all make it for me. So part of the reason I wanted to start this was so I can learn all of these different recipes myself. So I recently learned how to make Red Red. And it's actually dead simple. So,
but also remember, we became friends because of our love for recipes, right?
Exactly.
It was all about YouTube, and that's kind of how we connected and we became friends, and here we are.
So true. I will actually say, Karen, you are the inspiration that started my channel. I remember coming to you and saying, I'm thinking about doing this, and you were just like, go ahead, do it. Why not? Right?
Yeah. Use the phone. Just do it.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so to get started, the first thing we're going to do is heat our oil. I have my hot plate here on medium heat. We're going to add our oil. So this is 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and then I have 2 tablespoons of the palm oil.
Oh my God, that looks so luscious.
It's quite good. A lot of recipes you'll see, a lot of Ghanaian recipes, if you go to other channels on YouTube, they use a lot.
Oh my God, does that have like a different flavor too?
It definitely is a more richer type of oil. And that gives it its distinct taste. Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible, I have to say.
So while that's heating, we're going to quickly blend up our onions, a combination of onions, garlic, and then there's 1 habanero pepper here.
Okay. Is the habanero pepper something that you would typically find in Ghana?
So you know what, I will say, so Ghana is a British colony. So a lot of the foods that you'll find are have, I would say, British or Western roots.
Right.
The other thing I will say is that over the years, there have been Ghanaian people who've lived in North America for so long. So a lot of these recipes have gotten sort of adapted to align with what's available in North America. Like in Ghana, I'm pretty sure they're not using a habanero pepper, but they're using a particular, and something just to add a bit of heat and spice.
Right. Okay.
So I'm gonna blend that up really quickly. I've got a bullet here. You can use a blender. Okay, so I've given that a really quick blend, and we're gonna add that to, leaking out a bit. Add that to our oil to saute quickly. So I will say, don't feel like you absolutely have to blend it.
Yep.
I like to blend it because I feel like it helps to incorporate it more.
Yep.
Otherwise, and it also makes the recipe go so much quicker.
Yep.
But alternatively, what you could do instead of blend is just give it all a fine chop.
Yeah. I mean, I would blend it too, I think. Especially since you're going to add beans, right? So it'd be easier to see the beans if it's already blended well.
Exactly. So we're going to let that saute for a few minutes.
Okay.
And while we're doing that, I'll talk to you a little bit about the beans. So for this particular recipe, it uses black-eyed peas. So I personally, whenever a recipe calls for beans, if I have the foresight, I personally like to buy dried beans
me too.
And soak them in advance. It's so much, there's so much salt in our food these days that I feel like dried beans helps to really cut down on that sodium consumption. So basically what I did, you can see these beans compared to the actual final product, is they've really expanded. Yeah. So this is 3/4 of a cup of dried beans that I soaked yesterday in some water. I soaked them and put them on the countertop, and for a couple of times over the day, I gave them a quick sort of like change of the water, rinse them out. Yeah. And then for the rest of the time, I just left it on the countertop overnight. Yeah. And then this morning, I gave them a boil in some salted water for about 30 to 35 minutes. You really want the beans to be tender, but because you're going to be cooking them again, you don't
not overcooked. Yeah.
Super mushy. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some nice black beans that I soaked last night, and I'm going to be cooking that up today. But I agree with you, like these beans, and they're so good. They're so full of protein. And I like the canned ones too, but for certain things, like I'd buy canned if I was going to do a hummus, for example, but for something like this, definitely dried is the best way to go.
For sure. For sure. So our I forgot to say, it's 1 medium onion.
Yep.
It was 1 tablespoon of garlic, and then it was a hunk of ginger with our habanero peppers.
Yeah.
I noticed you do this on your channel a lot. I added a little bit of water to the, before I blended it, just to help it sort of blend out a bit.
Yeah.
And then from here, you can see it's got a really nice simmer. From here, I'm going to add the tomato paste.
And don't worry, guys, we'll have all these ingredients for you as well. So if you haven't caught it, don't worry.
I'm going to add the spices, which is cumin, and then also I have paprika here.
I love cumin and paprika, my faves.
And then I'm going to add some chicken stock.
Oh.
So because chicken stock actually has pretty good salt content,
right?
You don't necessarily need to. You don't necessarily need a ton of salt in this.
Okay,
recipe.
so that's basically stock powder, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're also going to give that a stir. We're going to let this go for 3 or 4 minutes. Sort of let that do its thing. So before we let it go for 3 or 4 minutes, we're also going to add the diced tomato.
Okay. It's looking good already.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's like a super quick and super flavorful recipe that comes together. So while that's doing its thing, I can talk to you a little bit about plantain.
Oh, yes.
Once we've added the beans and we let it cook, the next stage is that we're going to move on to frying our plantain. So for this particular recipe, we use a red plantain, like I mentioned. There's 2 different types of plantain that you can buy. There's red plantain, which actually looks yellow. I have one I can show you here.
And where can we get those?
So plantains, I would say, historically have been things that are used to be harder to find, and you could only find them at like Caribbean or ethnic food stores. But I will tell you that 2 weeks ago, I checked at Loblaws and they had plantains.
Oh, wow.
So it's something that I think has become, pretty accessible.
Yeah.
So this is a yellow plantain, and you want to buy it when it is pretty ripe. So, this looks like it has a lot of bruising, but that's actually okay. You don't want it when it's like super black, but you definitely want it to be a little bit more on the firm side.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people confuse plantains with bananas.
Yeah.
And even though they look the same,
yeah,
they're part of the banana family, but there are some really notable differences.
Right.
So bananas, for example, have a much higher sugar content. So because of that sugar content, they break down a lot more than a traditional plantain. Plantains are much starchier, so they hold up a lot better if you're frying or baking or anything of that nature.
Right. And I think it's a huge part of the food culture in Africa. Like plantains are everywhere, right?
Huge.
It's a staple.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. There's so many different uses. It's like, I would say, we love rice, but plantains are another sort of like starchy. Staple that we serve. So the yellow plantains, they definitely have more of a sweeter, sort of stickier, softer kind of texture, whereas the green plantains stay a lot more firm, like they almost have that same firmness of like a yam or a cassava.
Right.
So now that this is gone for a bit, we're then going to add our black-eyed peas.
Awesome.
So at this stage, it sort of becomes a bit of a texture and taste kind of thing. So if you are the kind of person who likes a lot of texture, then no need to do anything with the beans. You can just sort of leave them as is. I personally like them to be a little bit broken down. So what I do at this stage is I will mash them just slightly.
Okay.
Just so it becomes more of like a traditional type of stew.
Right. And there's no need to add any water, I'm presuming, right?
Well, what I actually do, and I this will be in the instructions, I should have said this at the beginning, but when I boil the water, I actually keep a little bit of that bean water.
Okay.
Just because at this stage, you're gonna give it some time to cook down. Right. So you want a little bit more moisture in here, so when it does cook down, it won't end up being too thick.
Right.
So this here is some of the bean water. So I will add a bit of that bean water, just so, like I said, when it does cook down, it will have something to cook down to. Okay, so what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm actually going to take this off the hot plate and have it finish simmering on the stove.
Yeah.
And then I can show you the fried plantain portion. At this stage, we're gonna fry our plantain as an accompaniment to our bean stew. And you definitely don't want your oil. I've got some oil in a pan here. You definitely don't want your oil to be super scorching hot, or else all you're gonna do is burn your plantain.
Right.
So I'm just gonna give it a bit of a quick test just to make sure it's warm, but not too hot. I'm using a toothpick here.
Oh, that's so smart. I never do that. I just wing it.
Well,
that's awesome.
What I've done in the past, and it's turned out to be a bit dangerous, is I would take a couple of flecks of water and
oh my god!
Oil, but it gets a bit crazy. So I saw someone do this recently, and I thought a much more civilized way to test your oil.
Yeah, and a safer way to do it would be to use a bamboo skewer, so you're not burning your.
Yeah, that's right.
Hands.
Well, this is definitely, the oil's really shallow, so. Yeah, if I did have more oil, I would use a wooden stick that's longer.
For sure.
So what I've done is I've cut the ends of the plantain and I slice into the skin just to get to the flesh.
Right.
And like a traditional banana, this is definitely, like I said, it's a lot more sturdier than a banana. So you're literally just peeling the skin off. I like to use a knife to just sort of clean off, once you take off the skin, just clean off sort of those rough sort of edges that come from the inside of the plantain. And then I like to slice them diagonally, but this is definitely a preference thing. If you want to cut them, lengthwise, or even whatever way you want to cut them, no problem. And then from here, you can put a little bit of salt just before it goes into the oil, and then we're also going to finish with salting it before we finish it.
Okay.
So we're going to add the plantain to the oil.
So we do something similar in India. However, we fry bananas.
Banana?
Yeah. Really firm bananas, probably before they ripen. And so something you don't know about me, I actually hate bananas.
You hate them? I don't really like them either. I love plantain though.
I can't even bear the smell of bananas, but banana chips I love. And they do two types. They actually do three types. One is just regular, it's just salted. One is dredged in pepper, and they're called pepper chips. Okay. And then the other ones, they're sliced like horizontally, and they're dunked in chili powder.
I personally have used just a shallow amount of oil. I've seen people use, huge vats of oil.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
So the only thing you're just going to have to keep an eye on is, giving that a flick just to make sure it cooks evenly. So you can see they've already on the one side, they're golden. And this, again, going back to preference, it really becomes a preference thing in terms of how fried you like how well done you like your plantains.
Exactly.
Okay, so Karen, I have something to tell you.
Go ahead, Barb.
You remember when I asked you for your birthday a couple days ago?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
what was that for?
The reason I wanted to know is because, in the Ghanaian culture, what we do is, depending on the day you were born, we have a name that has been given for male and female. And I was actually talking to a friend about this the other day, and what he said was, I think it's a way, especially for foreigners, we love to tell them what their Ghanaian name is, and I think it's a way that sort of helps bring people into our culture. So, as it turns out, based on the day you were born on a Monday. So your Ghanaian name would be Adjoa.
What?
So the next time you meet someone, Adjoa.
That's
The
nice.
next time you meet someone who's from Ghana, you tell them that your name is Adjoa.
Adjoa. I like it. There's a nice ring to it.
Okay, these are looking pretty good. Okay, I've taken them out of the hot oil, and now I'm going to salt it. You need to salt immediately when it comes out of the hot oil, or else the salt won't adhere and penetrate into the plantain.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much everything you do with fried food. So I'm gonna give it a quick salt.
And can I ask, is it just regular salt? Table salt?
I use kosher salt all the time in cooking, so it's kosher salt.
Okay.
But it's not like super chunky or anything like that.
Okay.
Table salt is also fine.
Okay.
You don't need to go too crazy with the salting because you've already salted it before you put it into the oil.
Right.
Okay, so last step is we're going to bring everything together.
Let's
So
see
our
those
red bean stew that's been simmering away is looking amazing.
Oh, awesome.
So just gonna give it one quick final taste to see if I need to add any salt before I finish.
Yep.
Remember, we already had that bouillon cube, the chicken stock cube, so that already is quite salty, so we probably don't need too much, but I've got some salt here just in case. Gonna give it a quick taste. It's pretty good. I mean, I think I can use probably just a couple of pinches of salt more. Give that a quick stir.
Looks fantastic.
Now, bring it all together.
You bring it all together, girl.
We're bringing it home, Karen. Okay, so traditional serving of red is with some sliced avocado. So I have some avocado here, and I'm gonna put my fried plantain on my plate. You can see it's super sticky. Like I said, the red plantain definitely has more of a caramelized consistency when fried versus green plantain. And then we're gonna put a couple of scoops of our delicious red bean stew here.
It's awesome. You don't need bread or rice or anything because you have the plantain.
I mean, you know what? In the African Ghanaian culture, we love our starches, so you probably will find someone who will also serve it with a rice or a yam. But I don't know, in my opinion, this is like the perfect meal, perfect lunch. The other thing too, I will say, is you like to add either a fish or sometimes dried shrimp. If you're gonna add a fish, a canned fish is really good. Here I've got some canned mackerel. It's a sturdier type of fish. It's in tomato sauce, so it will go exactly with, you know, the diced tomatoes that you've put in already. So the stage after you've mashed your beans, put the fish in, give it a stir, and let that simmer. The other thing I will say is that the fish adds a bit of a sort of smokiness to it. If you want that smokiness without making and keeping it vegetarian, I should say, smoked paprika instead of regular paprika is a really great way to achieve that. I mean, that's a North American sort of addiction.
Yeah.
But hey, in my opinion, it works. So that's red bread.
Awesome. Well, Barb, thank you so much for joining us on Cravings. And thank you for supporting me just like I support you, just like your t-shirt says.
Karen, I wore this for you.
Women supporting women. Yes, you go.
Totally inspire me. You are the reason why I have my channel, and every time I have a new video, or if it's taking me too long to get a video, you're always the first one who's
I'm on your case. Get back on that saddle.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure my viewers are going to love you because you were absolutely awesome, let me say. And guys, the recipe will be, will the recipe be on your channel soon?
The recipe will be on my channel soon. You get it first, Karen.
Awesome. So we'll print it out for everyone so they can try this at home as well.
For sure.
Well, with that said, thank you so much for joining us on Cravings Food Adventures. I hope you enjoyed this amazing recipe that comes to you from Barb's. Make sure you're following her on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. This goes everywhere. Until we see you next time, do take care. Happy eating. Bye.
Bye.